We're doing a little bit of spring cleaning today.
Bloom and Grow YouTube show.
Hey plant friends, welcome to my porch in our cabin in the Catskills. I'm so excited to make this video and take you through some spring cleaning that I'm doing with my Wally Grow eco planters. So Wally Grow is one of the oldest sponsors of Bloom and Grow Radio podcast. They are the masterminds behind the Wally Grow eco planter that has been the planter that I've potted my epic green wall. I have several videos linked above on the YouTube channel about how I installed my green wall, how it's grown, tips, tricks, how to train plants to climb the wall the way I did in our Long Island City apartment. And I'm super excited to be partnering with Wally Grow today to kind of take you through my spring refresh of these ecos, because I realized that these plants have been potted in the ecos for 2.5 years now. And I'm noticing that, you know, it's very natural a year in a plant being potted, let alone 2 years, to need a repot, need a refresh. And I'm noticing that my plants all of a sudden are not as happy in the ecos, and they are normally happy and thriving. So I think a few things happened in the last year that have made them a little bit more unhappy. We've moved 3 times. They've had a variety of different lighting situations, and I just think it's really time for that soil refresh. So thanks Wally Grow for partnering on this to kind of bring you guys through the journey. And if you haven't checked out the green wall that was kind of the inspiration for this plant collection, and the inspiration for why me and Wally Grow are such good friends, the green wall was probably the most magical part of my apartment in Long Island City, where Billy and I lived for so long. And it's really cool to look back with that green wall from the little plants that were potted up, you know, in December of 2019 when we first potted everything up. They were little plants and they have just grown and trailed and climbed, and at one point they were attached to the wall, and they've really gotten a little unruly. So I'm excited to kind of look under the hood and see what's going on. I'm assuming that these plants are rather pot bound. But before we dive into that, I just wanted to let you know a few things about Wally Grow Ecos, because I get a lot of the same questions over and over again about these containers, because I remember that when I was looking at Wally Grow Eco containers, I reached out to an influencer, Studio Plants, on Instagram and asked her a bunch of questions that I had, and she answered me. So the Wally Grow Eco, it's made of 100% recycled ocean-bound plastic, which is really cool. It's a very sustainable, eco-friendly company. But it's this plastic container. The front of the container has holes in it that are designed to help with aeration for the soil. And the cool thing with these planters is they're leak-free, and they have this reservoir in the back. The reservoir, this is where you water the plants. So you don't water the plants in here. You water the plants in here. This is perforated and the water leaks through and essentially bottom waters your plant. And the design is very fancy. It's like kind of beyond what I understand from a science level, but it reduces the amount of water you have to use to water your plants. And it's super easy. And I have to say, like, man, I have super hardy plants in here, in my green wall, intentionally knowing that I wasn't going to want to like stand on my couch and water all the time. But like, I think I water my ecos these plants were all in bright indirect light, super bright indirect light, and I watered like once a month. And these plants were happy. They have been happy, growing, throwing off all sorts of growth. If you see those photos that we'll throw up, and it's just a super low maintenance way to grow plants, and really gorgeous. And I love that you can kind of utilize wall space. I can't wait for in our next home to kind of build out a green wall of my dreams. Some of my friends also don't pot plants into the Wally Grow Ecos, but they actually mount them on the wall and then just put 4-inch nursery pots of plants inside. And then sometimes they even put leca at the bottom and then seat the potted plants on top of the leca, which I kind of think is clever too if you want to like swap out seasonally like what you're growing, or if you want to like move stuff around, if you want to like keep changing your look. My look in Long Island City was an ombre wall. So I started, what did I do? I think I started at the top with dark green, and then I started at the top with this light green upright lime philodendron. Then I had the philodendron Brazil, which has that kind of stripe of the light green, and then I had dark green on the bottom. So it was this really cool ombre effect, which I loved. I still love. So there are a couple of things. Oh, and one other thing. this gets mounted really easily. So it comes with this plastic thing, one screw into your wall, you mount it, and then the way you put this on your wall is this is mounted on the wall like this, and then you literally just hang it, and it's like foolproof. So you can also take the eco planters off and put them back on. And actually, when I was doing my ombre, I started it green, Brazil, lemon lime, and then I realized that the lemon lime wasn't growing as fast as the green was, so I switched it because it was like shading each other out, and it was really nice just to be able to take the planter off the wall and then put it back on and mix and match. So I've used these ecos 2 different ways. The first was on my green wall, and the second in our cabin is we actually have this loft that I've turned into kind of my meditative planty corner, and the loft has this banister. So I actually seated the Wally Grow ecos on the floor, and I let the trailing plants trail over the banister onto the wall, and I think it gives a really cool effect. Since we're in a log cabin, you can't hang things in logs, so that was kind of the new thing that I've done, and I really appreciate that they're flat on the bottom, so I could just sit them down. So we're getting a makeover, we're having a spa day, because spring is coming, spring is here, and I'm ready for them to kind of grow out. So I'm trying to be forgiving with myself this year. I've been through a lot this year, my plants have been through a lot this year, and we've moved 3 times, and so my plants aren't the happiest they've ever been. I think they really miss our huge southern windows in our Long Island City apartment, as we're kind of in these little interim homes, but it's just gonna make our next home that much sweeter. But I do kind of want to set them up for success until then. So what I think is I actually have a Wally Grow launched the Loop planter, which is this one. This is their hanging planter, but I'm actually so obsessed with the design, I use it as my tabletop planter. It's got the same perforated idea, but it's a pot within a pot, and this pot has full aeration, holes all around the pot, and it sits in this. So this ends up being the reservoir, and this actually comes with different cords, and there's a bunch of ways that you can style it, but it's leak proof, so I use this on my tables so I don't get like water stains on anything. Anyway, I have a really happy philodendron lemon line. This is a philodendron, not a pothos, I think. And so what I'm thinking is I might actually take a few cuttings of this and stick it in that pot just to kind of fill it out, or I might take some cuttings of that and put it in here. So what I think we need to do is just like get to work and take action. So let me clear some space and let's get to it. Cut to the time lapse. Okay, Billy brought me a beer while I was repotting. It took a little bit longer than expected. So I ran out of soil, so I have 4 of these potted up. I did notice I definitely underwatered when we moved in adjusting. I peeled back the watering because they were in a lower light area, but I think I took it too far. So there were actually a bunch of roots that I had to prune back due to overwatering on my part. It was an oversight in moving to this new house. But anyway, so what I've done is I've repotted these up, and then I've actually taken the majority of the leaves because there was so much roots that I pruned away. I actually pruned some of the top as well to just kind of even that out, so the new root system or the existing root system isn't overwhelmed by the shoot system above. But the beauty of that is I took, all the vines off, removed the leaves, and then stuck them back in the pot. So those will root in the soil. And that's actually something that I've done over the last 2.5 years just to continue kind of growing the plant for free and helping it have those lush jungle vibes. So you can see I actually, in this one, I took a really long runner of this plant and popped it in there. So the first time I water these guys, I am going to top water the entire eco. I do this once, and I do this outside. So if you water the soil compartment of a Wally Grow eco, because these have holes, if the soil gets too saturated, the water can come out the holes. So in practice, once you install your ecos, you want to always water in the reservoir. Always, 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 okay? Unless you take the plant off and do kind of a refresh. Today, because this is fresh soil, I'm going to water the entire eco, and I'm just going to kind of monitor it, make sure that there's no extraneous dripping before I put them back in my loft. Another thing with watering, what I find works for me is I water in the reservoir and I count to 10. And normally you just kind of want to fill the reservoir and you want to see the water go out of the perforated holes. And that's kind of been my rule of thumb. But I'm excited to get these on our next wall. We're moving again, so I hope that I can install a wall again, because there's really nothing like a green wall. And I have the Eco White, which is actually like very, I think, hard to come by. But Wally Grow also just launched a whole bunch of spring colors. So if you're doing a spring refresh, they have like a really sexy emerald green, which your leaves like blend into, so it kind of boosts the green wall vibe. They've got a really like luxe navy blue. They've got a mustard, which is so happy, and I think mustard would be a beautiful accompaniment to like a philodendron Brazil. And they've got a bunch of other colors, so you can check the links down in the show notes for a exclusive discount code for our community that expires. There's a time frame that's below, depending on when you're watching this video, to use a discount code, and also just all the links to all of this stuff. Okay, I'm going to give a top water to let the soil settle. I'm going to monitor these holes, and then I'm going to return them, and then from moving forward, I'll water in the reservoir. But man, I love Wally Grow, number one, but I love these planters. I love that they're made of recycled plastic. I love how smart they are. I love how low maintenance they are. I mean, we hung these things on the wall, one screw each. It's really amazing. And I have to say, the loop planter is quickly becoming my new tabletop planter, because it really is leak proof, which I really like, because how many times have you watered a plant and like it leaked on your table and then you get like, you know, the water stains. So I love the loop planter as well, and the new colors are available in the loop planter as well. If you have any more questions about the eco planters, let me know in the comments and I'm happy to answer them. I've worked with Wally Grow for like 3.5 years now, and I really love the women that run that company. Thanks again, Wally Grow, for partnering with me on this video. And until next time, my sweet plant friends, keep blooming and keep growing.